Hey everybody, my name's Ben Yard and I'm the Somerset Whittler, and today we're going to attempt to whittle some decorations for a Christmas tree. So we're going to do a Santa style decoration, a little bit like this fella that we can hang from the tree. We've hollowed him out to make him a little bit lighter, and here's another one, this little chap. I got that hanging off a homemade stand here, so he's going to be on my Christmas tree. Quite a good little project to do now, where you can collect them up and do plenty of them for Christmas, bring in a bit of pocket money for Christmas, maybe selling them, or just to hang off your own Christmas tree. So that's what we're going to do today, and we've made these little fellas from just 1x1 blocks. So he's inch by inch. These blocks I pick up are 4 inches long. These little fellas are pretty much that as well. So what we do is we take this one, we take him to the bandsaw or the chop saw or whatever saw you may have, and we chop them in half like so. I'm going to go with that one because he's slightly thicker, because I've cut that one a little bit offline. And then we make sure we got our tools. I've already had a quick little sharpen of them, which I don't always do, so I'm a little bit more organized today. So I've got my detail knife, medium detail. I have a 4mm gouge. I have I think that's a 2.5, I think that's a 1.5, and I have a V-tool if we should need it as well. But most of this we will be doing with a knife, as I like to do with most of my projects. So we can see I like to have a pencil. So we're going to plan this guy out. So this fella is going to have a hat on. We're going to do a Santa. So we're going to have his hat, let's say about here. Just going to pencil that in like so. So we just have it on a slight angle. I try to use the pencil just so you can see what I'm thinking about more than anything else. So it might not necessarily be there for very long, or I may change it. But it's just so you can see what's going on in my mind. So that will go there, and then we'll have the tufty of his hat, which will go about there. This should be a nice, fairly quickish project compared to some of my other ones. Then we'll have his hat going. Where should we go? Let's go from left to right. So he'll come over like so, and then a little less on this side as it falls into a ball, which we will have roughly about there-ish. We can play around with this later, but it just gives me an idea where we're going. And then we'll have the bottom of his nose, probably the more important bit, this bit. So we can have the bottom of his nose about there, I reckon. About there. We won't mess around with the ears on this particular one, because we can try and keep it relatively quick. So then his beard we'll have going off, and maybe we'll sweep it off to the left. Something like that. So we will start off by just knocking that hat part off so we can get a bit of shape. I'll just take that corner off. In fact, we'll run right up through here, just knocking that sharpness off the corner, so we haven't got it on the nose as well. Don't want to go too deep there. We don't want the nose to be too flat, but I also don't want it to be too sharp. The hat itself, we can go a bit deeper there, because we don't want that hat to have too much of a point at the front of it, because it wouldn't do. Okay, and then we will curl the hat around on this side. Just nibble this corner off. Ooh, somebody's brought me a lovely cup of coffee. Thank you very much. Cool. We're just getting that hat shape on the top. Just nibble that round. Just remember on this top piece to leave enough room for the pin to go in the top of the hat. So you don't want that to be too narrow, otherwise you're going to split the wood. So we need them to be able to hang. Put them back. Okay. So bring it in top of the hat, but not too much. You can't get that pin in afterwards. There we go. And we just nibble in at this ball area. Just have to be careful when you're doing this type of, you're not used to cutting, because it's hard enough doing inch by inch, which we've done on a few of my other videos, quite a lot of the videos. Much more difficult when it's now narrow, because we've chopped it in half. You don't want to go through, especially when you're playing around with hats like this. You don't want to push too hard and go through with your hand on the other side. Always wear a glove if you can. I should do. I have gloves lying around here just for videos and stuff. What tends to happen for videos is my glove gets dirty quite quickly because I'm penciling as well, and then it just makes an absolute mess of everything. You can't see very well. My hand's always in the way. I become a bit cumbersome with it. That's the reason I'm not wearing a glove right now. Okay, so we can just go around this ball like so, and then just sort of start making that ball sort of shape. And we're just coming in and just sort of getting that ball shape you want it to. That was obviously hanging off the hat. Let's bring this in a little bit. Okay. Try and bring that ball of the hat in. And then what we're going to do is we're going to follow that line across here, and that is going to be the edge of the hat. So where we've done the pencil marks, we're just going to do stop cut up to it, like so. You could drag your knife all the way across. Just be careful on those corners, like I say, take your time, no rush. Go in alongside and just relieve that part. It's good to get this corner part here, just tuck it in a little bit. That'll be where our hair goes into our hat. We can shape all that up afterwards. Same on this side, follow that line we've got for the hat. Just take that corner piece out there. Where the hair goes in, and then just follow that round. But you can stop cut that by going down and then cutting up to it, which will be easier than what I just done. And then just coming down. Okay, I tend to do a line like that. I know where the tip of my blade is. Just get underneath and relieve it. Okay, so the head's going to tuck into this hat. Okay, just make sure this hat's not too squarish from the corner. Again, remember that top bit. Remember that top bit. Okay, and then we'll go the other line, same as what we did with that top line, down, and that's just the tufty of the hat. So I tend to go both ways with this, down and up, just so it's not such a solid indentation on the top of the hat. Again, take your time with all these cuts, no rush. So there we go. So that's the basis of our hat, and we can nibble away at that later on. Let's get to the bottom of the nose. So we marked our nose. I think we're about right. So we'll take a line in, straight line in, and then we'll cut up to that line. Okay, simple as that. And then we'll go out wide, and we'll take a cut up to that wide. And depending on how you want to shape your nose, will depend on how wide you want to take this. I would suggest going relatively wide, because we're going to curl up for the beard on it. And a narrow nose can be hard to shape afterwards. So I tend to think that it's better too wide than it is too narrow. Okay, he's got a relatively wide nose there. We're going to work out where his eyes are going to come in, and we'll cut a brow in. So we're going to go here. Okay, that's where his brow is going to be. We're going to take that cut and we're going to go across. And this is where we're outlining where the eyes are going to be. Okay. Same on the other side, just trying to level that up now. Again, it doesn't matter. I mean, on this type of character, it doesn't matter how symmetrical it is. I did read somewhere that the human eye looks for symmetry. And in most cases, that's what we perceive to be beauty or handsomeness, is how symmetrical somebody's face is. So an ugly face is less symmetrical. I don't know how true that is. I read it somewhere. Interesting. So if you wanted it to be a handsome fella or a pretty lady, then make sure you get your symmetry right. But on a Santa, a wizard, that type of thing, sometimes it can look goofy and rather fun if it's not. But I still try to get as much symmetry in as I possibly can at this stage. And then if I wanted to make it look goofy or less symmetrical, I'll add that in. But I wouldn't get hell-bent on it on a character like this. Sometimes it can add to the character. Okay, so now we've got our nose shaped in. We've got our eye socket shaped in. Now with our pencil, we're going to just outline the nostrils. So I'm going to go quite wide on this fella. We're going to go something like that. Again, probably more important on the nose to get that symmetry right. But again, not massively important. So draw it, take a look, take your time. Work out if you think that's about right. I think we're happy with that. And what we will do here is we will form the cheeks below it. So we will take that line, we will draw down and around and then back up, and we'll draw in towards the forehead where the hair goes, like so. Okay, same on the other side. And unless you're going for a wink or a slopped eye or, I don't know, a cheeky grin or something, then the symmetry here is probably important. Again, I wouldn't worry too much about it, but try and get it roughly the same. So if I turn that upside down, it's easier for me being right-handed to see the other side. So I'm thinking something like that, and we run up inside. So if we look at it now, we are roughly about right, I think. We'll go with that. Then with the tip of our knife, we will just sit it into there. Again, be careful because it's got a small piece. We'll sit it in and we will just follow that line all the way around. Again, be very careful. We've got a small piece here, so it needs pressure, but don't push it all the way through. Wear your glove. Follow it all the way around through. And where possible, keep your fingers out of the way when you're pushing through, so there is no chance of that going through. Same on the other side. Tip in. Follow that knife all the way around. Take your time. I'm not aggressively pushing. The reason I'm going slow is just to make sure we do this safely. Again, move your fingers out of the way when you're pushing through to the bottom. Just follow that line. There we go. So we've drawn it on and we followed the line through. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come at an angle and just take that small slice out all the way around. Just small cuts. We're going to shape that cheek down into that beard. And then come at the other angle as well. So we're coming from underneath. So that the edge of the beard is not sharp. Just come down and remove that. When the hairline goes into the hat, what we can do is just a little V cut at the top, both directions. And then just come in and remove that. And then that just makes that hair look like that's going into the hat. Yeah? And then very finely around the nose, we want to remove a piece. Again, just taking your time, nice and slowly. I've gone in one side of the pencil line. When we cut around, I'm coming in the other side of the pencil line now, just to remove those little slivers. Okay? And we want the same on the other side. So this side of the pencil line, I'm just going to come round. Very shallow cut all the way around. Just going back into that stop cut we did. Back up into the hairline. That hairline, we just have a little triangle cut top of the hat. Remove that piece, and it looks like his hair is going into his hat again. Okay. And then again, so that hair is not on a corner, we're just going to go around the other side of the pencil line, aiming in, and we should remove all those pencil marks while having relatively smooth cheeks and beard. And if you can go right the way around, if you're confident enough, like so with the nose, then happy days. Like so. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our knife, we're just going to trim into the bottom of the nose here. I'll try and bring that up. This is an uncomfortable position for me because shoulders and everything are up, but just so you can show the camera. Just going to nibble under the nose, both sides. And then what we'll do is we'll just remove that corner piece there. And on the corner of the nose, just so we can get the nose back into the face a little bit. We'll just nibble around the beard. Just giving it all a bit of shape. Same this side. Just nibble that nose. Just under that nose, just nibble that back. The cheeks will, this will allow the cheeks to pop forward, the beard to be more of a beard shape, and the nose to sit into the face. which is spoken about on previous videos. Always want that nose to be sat in the face. So there's our profile. So we can go back into this nose and just try and separate it from the cheek a little bit. Not too much, and this isn't necessary if you don't want that look. Okay. Now, from the side here with your knife, with the tip almost on that eye, we are just going to smooth up around the nose, just a curling cut like that. I'll see if I can do it as close to the camera as I can. We're just going to roll it out towards the nose like that. See that? I'm not taking much. I would normally do that in one cut. I'm just showing you several times. That just gives that nose a little bit more shape and the cheek a little bit more shape rather than a square. But again, depending on if you can flat plane, then you might want to leave it if you like that look. On the opposite side, we've got a different objective of going the other way around because I'm right-handed. Just using my left thumb just to push that blade across and just shape that out for me. Like so. The nose, we're just knocked down a touch so we don't have a sharp nose. So we're just shaping that nose and we're going back towards the nostrils and we're just rounding that in. As we get to the corner, we're just going to nip that corner off and tuck it in. And that's where we're going to get some of that depth on that nose. Like so. Just tuck that into the nose area. Just shape the nose how you want it shaped now. Got a nice sized nose there to play around with. Sorry, I went off the screen there a little bit. There's our nose, round and bulbous. Now what I would suggest with your pencil is to put in where you want your nostrils to be. So I'm going to go, I think, there and there. Just have a look at it from the front. Does that look about right? I think so. Quite happy with that. Then with my 4mm, I'm just going to go in and just relieve that area. And I'll do the same on the other side. Depending on how you want those nostrils to look. So then we've got a couple of quite small nostrils in there. We could nibble that up a little bit if we wanted to. Let's just come back in. Just take the sharp corner off of there. That should show our nostril a bit better then. Okay, so we've now got that in there as well. Let's just shape that forehead back into that hat. Definitely want that forehead to be in the hat. There we go. Now there's lots of different ways of doing eyes. We could do little V-cuts. Excuse me, I have a bit of coffee. Or we could take the gouge and we could just make an area that we want the eyes to be in, which for me is going to be here, just as the two cuts come together. one down on top of the other there. That's where I'm going to put mine in. So just like so. And I'm going to get this relatively deep, I think. Yeah, relatively deep. Same on the other side. Trying to get the same area and symmetry on that. Again, you could mark that with your pencil. So now we got our eyes pretty much where we want them. Tuck our nose in a little bit. Make sure our nose shape stays the way we want it. Like we did. Just gonna get rid of some of these flat areas here. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to knock with this, I might go with a smaller 1.5mm gouge. I'm just going to go up from the nose there, just up into the forehead area a couple of times so I can get it deep enough. Okay, you see that? Then what I'll do is I'll come down with a knife sort of halfway down and I'll roll that up into the hat on both sides. That rolling back up allows me to put my forehead back into a forehead, but has given me a brow for eyebrows. So I'll come off of that, the small cut, and follow that small cut around. You could do this with a V-tilt, could do this with a gouge. I try and do as much as I can with a knife. I could just follow that around. Hope I'm staying on screen all the time for you. Can be difficult. As you start to concentrate, you naturally bring the thing closer to your face, and then I notice I'm at a camera shot, but I think we're doing all right. And then this side as well. Sorry. So there we go. Again, it's quite a small piece, so you don't have to necessarily go into the details of eyebrows. You could just paint them on if you wanted to. I just find these really good practice for bigger pieces. If you can do a decent enough face on a small little bit of 1x1, it don't have to become easier when you get to your bigger pieces. And these sort of pieces are quite good practice for your full figures as well, because you can get straight into the face. It doesn't take very long. It's good practice when you get your full ones. I mean, when you look at I've got a biggish cowboy here, as you can see with my hand, but when you look at the face, see, same sort of size. So good practice when you have like a big piece like this. Do as many of these as you can. You feel much more confident when you get to this, a fellow of this face. It would take all the time to do all of this type of thing. And then screw the face up. So something like this is good practice. Anyway, where do we get to? See, even all that, because I sharpened my knives, I've got that paste on my fingers. It's making it all dirty, but hopefully you can see all right. One of the things we want to do quite a bit of is just shape those cheeks, get them nice and round, so you can go deeper and deeper into this recess area here, but try not to make the cheek any more narrower, but just get it deeper and then come in from the other side as well, which is what we started doing when we formed it in the first place. Just be careful not to go through the wood again. It's quite thin. Just come up through, and we want, because we want Santa's cheeks to be we want them to be rosy and full. Want them to be full. All right, let's start shaping that area where we're going to have his beard. We'll come back up to the eye in a second. Okay, and we'll remove that corner piece all the way down. Make sure you're nice and sharp. And this sort of thing becomes relatively easy. Okay, so we're going to shape the beard a little bit, won't we? Give it some sort of interest. So let's take that corner off. You could thin it right out. I've seen some people do some nice pieces where they remove the back with a gouge. That takes the weight out of it, and then come through with the beard. Some people put some light through it, which I think that's kind of cool. Probably won't do that on a video like this because it would just take too long. So we're just gonna shake that beard off to one side. So that's looking pretty cool, isn't it? Maybe we need to come in from the other side to give it a little bit more interest. There we go. Got a bit of interest in the beard. Just shake that cheek again. Just get the shape of that face going in to the hairline. Just keep getting that cut going back like that, and shape those cheeks accordingly back into the hairline. That'll give us that indentation, but that'll give us something to play with the hair as well. So same on the other side. Just take away any of the corners of the face, just rounding them off and getting them to drop into that hairline. Make sure that hair tucks into the hat. Okay, right, so eyes. Right, so we've got them into the socket, so we're going to put a little dot in this corner. We're going to put a little dot, same place on the other eye. See where we're quite close now. And then opposite side, and then just take a look at what you've done. Just make sure those eyes kind of look symmetrical. If you really wanted to get a bit more panicky about it, you could pretty much measure them. I don't know what that's worked out to be on mine there, but you could have a look. And pretty much, I'll go with that. I'm not too fussy. Then with the tip of our blade, we're just going to touch in on that. Just make sure I'm in focus there. Just touch in on that point, down and in on that point, up, and then just come back in and remove a chip. See that chip? And then we'll do the same on the other side. Come up, come down. So we've effectively done like a little V, and then go back in and remove a chip. You can see that little chip removed. You can go back in if you wanted to and remove a bigger chip if that's what you wanted to do. You could go back in and just round that off a little bit if you wanted to. You could spend quite a bit of time playing around with eyes if you wanted to, but that's what we're going to do. And then we're going to turn around, and on that other point, I like to hold it like a pencil when I do this, on that other point we do the same. Slightly up, slightly down, back in to remove the chip. See the chip? Okay. Same on the other side, slightly down, slightly up, come back in and remove the chip. And lo and behold, we have some kind of eyes going on. Now you could leave it like that if you wanted to. I tend to put the tip of my blade on where you can see the end, and then I will just roll that over to the other end, which isn't far now because we've moved quite big chips, and then I'll just go back in and remove that sliver. Now if I wasn't filming this, I'd have this closer to my face and be a little bit more accurate, and I'd probably play around with it a lot longer, but for now that will do. So you can see there, the end there, and we can just roll it across to the other end, yeah, like so. And if we wanted to, we could come from either angles. We could just come in, see that piece there, it's just come out. That's just separated the eye. So we've got some quite deep eyes on this fella now. Now one eye, when I look at it in a minute, I think this eye might be slightly bigger, so we can come around, play around with that, but let's finish what we're doing first. So we can do the top as well if we wish. So from this side to this side, just the tip, around you go, back in, around you go. Okay, and the same on the other one. And the top, just go around the eye. I think we're quite good there. Go back and just take a little slither out. Hoping you can see these little slivers as they pop out. And if I hold them close, you should be able to see we got two eyes in there. Which is cool. Keep shaping this nose if you want to. My knife now needs a strop. You can see the tram lines that's leaving behind. That means I need to strop my knife. Just getting that in there. So we're pretty good. I like to do on the end of the eyes is we just, at this end, just draw a line in and come up to it, like so. And what that just, especially with a Santa or a wizard, just give them a slightly older looking eye, because it will create like a wrinkle in the corner of the eye. And then I'd go another one in on it. Just try and pull that away slightly. That gives a slightly older look on that side. Chips all over the place. We can do the same on the other side. Just go in on that eye. Just remove that. And then we'll go back in. Create that wrinkle. We can use our gouge up against that nose just to give it a little bit more shape. Drop the eye in a little bit. Give it a bit more shape around the nose. Yeah, so far so good. We're happy. I think we're happy with this little fella so far. So we've got several more things we need to do. We need to shape the hat a little bit better. I need to finish my cold coffee. So what we do with the hat is it's kind of flopped over, which is why the ball's on this side. So that would come like something along that sort of lines. And we'd also want to remove that sliver there. Just come in, just put a line. You could do this with a V-tool, you could do this with a gouge. Again, if I can do it with a knife, I'll do it with a knife. Try and do everything with a knife if I can. That's why I refer to most of what I do as whittling, because of the size of what I'm doing and the fact I'll try and use a knife with all of it if I can. Just started doing eyes using gouges because it's just so much quicker. This is just the folds in the hat as the hat slumps to one side. Just giving it some interest, really. Just want to bring this in so it looks like that will just give that ball an effect, a look like it's dropped. Hopefully, I think we're achieving. I think we're achieving that. Could make this guy a wizard, and then you wouldn't have to worry about all this. And you could do it on bigger pieces, and then you could just do the hat dropping down. What we have on that fella. Same process. And here's a bigger Santa that I've done same sort of thing. In fact, the hat's almost looking the same. Just a few more interesting pieces on it. And we've done he was in a previous video, this fella. A little bit more angry looking, which is purposely done. The same sort of process. It's a magnet on him. He sits on my light there. We could get into all sorts of details now, but I think we're probably gonna leave that as so. So now we need to decide what we're gonna do with his beard, and I would suggest we come off this way and follow the flow. Follow the flow as feels like it's flowing in that sort of direction. Something like that. It feels about right. I don't know. I think I got a bit low. That's probably a little bit better. So what I tend to do here is with the tip of my knife, again, just follow the pencil lines, being careful not to push all the way through the wood, because we like having fingers. So we just follow that around, just curl it off at the end. And then with the tip of my blade, I will go back and meet that cut and remove it like so. Or if you're not confident doing that, you could just go back in and just do those type of cuts right the way across and worry about that V-cut when you've finished, and come back and just cut that V-cut in. Do like to get this relatively deep, so that if we want to, we can come back in and play with this again with some details. My Santas tend to have more of a wizardy look, mainly because the moustaches I pull down. You can have them going the other way round, like this fella who's going up, who's going to look a little bit more smiley. Again, remove quite a bit of wood here. And then we need to decide whether we're going to give him a lower lip or not. Don't have to give him a lower lip. What are we thinking? Shall we? I think we will. So what I tend to do is just do a curling cut around here. Again, keeping it relatively symmetrical. Slim that down, take away the hardness of the corners. And what we'll do is we will come in just around here, and then we will sweep up and remove that cut, like so. And that will produce our lip. We could do, if we wanted to, we could get a gouge and just go in that area just to relieve, so it looks a little bit more like a lip. and go back in with your knife just to remove that. And then we've got that more of a lip look. Okay. So our little man's taking shape now. Just shape out his beard a little bit more. Try and get rid of the initial wood. So we've got clean cuts all over him, because the initial wood won't take the paint so well, and you'll be able to see initially where it was. Nice in need of sharpening. Just try and remove any original wood. There. Make sure that hair goes back into the hat. Like so. Get those cheeks nice and rounded. And then what we want to do is we want to put some movement into the hair. So starting at the top, just do some wavy lines. Could come off the side and in. Just get some interesting shapes involved there. S's or whatever you want to do, really. And then what we're going to do, because this is such a small piece, we'll probably go with, let's go for the slightly bigger, sort of 3, I think it's 3 mil, might be 2.5. And then we're just going to follow that, the gouge, just follow that line. Try not to go too straight. It's just going to stop the wood looking so flat, give it some interest. Go in here, follow that around and out, in, around, down and out, in, around, down, back on itself. There's no science in this, just go whatever shape you want to. A lot of people cross over as well. Cross them over and get some interest into that beard. I'm just trying to get a bit of a flow going with it. That just stops it looking quite so flat. And then we can go in with our V tool and we can go down the middle of that, or as I've just done there, just alongside it. Again, keeping some interest with the wave. Going different directions. Our beard is going off to one side, so I'm trying to, at the end, go off into that direction. Do some shorter ones as well, so they're not all the same length. Some deep, some shallow. Just to create some beard shape. back up the other way. Just get back in towards that cheek. That hairline. And then we're going to go off that moustache. We'll go straight down with a line, and then we're going to go sort of sweeping out to one side, on both sides. Now we can use a V-tool for this, or we could just use our knife. Since I've got the V-tool out, I'm going to go with the V-tool and just follow those lines. Probably do that center one with my knife. Get these relatively deep, and when we get the paint on it, we can do a couple of nice effects with the paint, where we can get maybe 1 or 2 colors in the beard because of the cuts we've made now. So what I tend to do is just go at the bottom of these now, just to get some interest in them, and just cut little triangles in the bottom of where those V-tool marks finished. Hopefully you can see that. That's just getting some interest in on the bottom of that. There we go. Okay. There he is. I mean, that is effectively all there is to it. We can play around with him if we wanted to. We could put some extra wrinkles on him. We could round these cheeks and make them deeper. We could, if we need to, if we wanted to, we could put slightly deeper indentations in the beard, or shape the beard slightly differently, which is a lot easier with a knife, I find, than a V-tool. Just curl it around. Come back on each side, just remove like a half moon shape, and that will just get some depth into the beard. But if you're going to do that in one area, you're going to need to try and do it in several. So just come across and, yeah, just get some depth into that beard where you feel it needs it. Could on the outside just come in and break up those straight lines, try and get them to flow in the same way that hair flows. That will just break that up a little bit. Look. Do the same as the other side. You can nearly get it to flow with that, with those V-cut gouge cuts. Just create that interest. Try and make sure that this brim of this hat doesn't look too squarish. Just come back and trim off the original wood, because again, like I said, that original wood will paint differently. So you just want to make sure that you've pretty much cut every part of it. Get this ball shaped. Make sure he's nice and round. You could put some more interest in the hat if you wanted to. A couple of nicks. Always makes it look like the hat is well worn. Okay, and we're pretty much there with the fella. You could take a gouge and just trim, depending on how you wanted it. You could get it to look could take little bites out of the hat, out of the brim. Just make it look a little bit different. Like so. What I'm going to do now is wash this fella up. We'll come back and paint him. And we'll put the little pin in his head. So I'll go and wash him up and I'll come back with the paints and we'll go through the painting part. See you in a bit. Okay, we're back. Santa's had his little wash. And there he is. In all his glory. Not sure if the light is showing him very well or not. Yeah, it's better with the light on, isn't it? Okay, so what I tend to start with my painting is I will start with the skin tone. I usually get some water, fill up one of these pipettes. We'll get a red. And then we will take a drop of the red, put it in the water, and we'll mix him up. And probably discover that it's still too dark because I tend to paint real light. Feel that maybe still a bit heavy. Okay. And then we will just do the face of the Santa. So we will just cover all of his fleshy parts, trying to avoid his eyes. No concern if it hits the beard. But we don't really want it on the eye. And we will come back and we will colour this as many times as we deem necessary to get the colour that we are looking for. I tend not to get, sometimes I will put another drop in if I'm way off the colour. Most of the times I will just come back and give another coat. Okay. Okay. And then with the beard, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, again, heavily water down. I'm going to put a drop of brown. Shake the bulb, Ben. Shake the bulb. Drop of brown into the equation. That water. And I'm just going to coat that beard in this brown colour. And I will probably do this several times. I may darken that up a bit now to save me having to do it several times. This is just going to sit in the crevices and the deep cuts that we've done for when we go grey or white, depending which colour you want to predominantly be the beard be. That brown will just sit, hopefully, deep within those cuts. Again, it could depend on how heavy you like your paint. As you can tell, I like to paint really quite light. I will go back in around the corners and stuff, darken it up sometimes, as I'm doing now. But I would prefer normally would normally prefer to let it dry and come back several times rather than go heavy like I just did then. But for this chap, we're just ploughing, I think. There we go. Okay. I think we got him. We got him roughly where we want him there. Then the hat. I'm going to go, rather than water this one down too much, I'm going to go for like a burgundy red. And I think I might just not, let's give it a drop. Oh, that was literally a drop, wasn't it? Don't want the hat to be too watered down. And if we go with a bigger paintbrush on this one, then we're going to go with a deeper burgundy colour. Paintbrush is too big, I would suggest going smaller. Just have to be careful with when you water down your paints. You can probably see on this one, or maybe not because you might be too far away, but how that paint bleeds and how it runs. And sometimes I'll hold the pieces I'm painting it in a way to make sure that it doesn't bleed where I don't want it to bleed. You would have seen on the skin tone it's bleeding into the beard, which wasn't bothering me too much because I quite like lots of different colours in a tone of a beard, and it will probably just get seeped out of pink anyway. But you can see there, see, when you touch it, it seeps. But then a heavy paint just doesn't give it the right look for me. When we wax this later, it will look even better because it will just pull some of the paint out. So there we go. So then we got his hat. Got his hat, his beard. We're going to need to do the whites of his eyes. We're going to need to do his ball. And we're going to need to do the brim of his hat. So some white, please. So we've got the white ready already. It's good. So I'll try and stay on camera and try and do this on camera. I don't always do that with the whites. I need my glasses. Where's my glasses? Getting old. Oh no, I put my glasses on and see how bad that paintbrush is. It's all gone quiet over here as I concentrate. when we put the black of the eye in, we can then position his eyes where we want them to look, whether we want to look left, right, straight at us, down, up, whichever way we want. Let's paint the ball in. I would tend to normally let everything dry so nothing seeps into itself. So I'm just daintily going around that really. Sorry, I've gone quiet. I tend to do that in painting. I like painting because it puts my mind at ease. Painting it, for some reason, it's one of the few things that makes me switch completely off. I know a lot of carvers don't like to paint, but I find it almost meditating. Maybe it's because I've got to concentrate. And I always say that a good paint job can make an average carving look really good, and a bad paint job can make a really good carving look terrible. I have just noticed that I haven't put pink on his lips, so that was an error. You've got a hairy lip, my old mate. It's a bit on the brown side. An error on my behalf, so I might have to go a bit darker on there. A bit better. Just go back over that. You have to be careful with the reds. They're obviously really watered down. We don't want to ruin anything we've already done, which I have a tendency to do. And what we're going to do when this beard dries off is we're going to come back and we're going to use an ivory or a white. You can use a white if you haven't got an ivory, and we're going to sort of dry brush. We're going to dry brush that beard so it's got different tones and colours in it. There he is. Okay, so we will get a pen, which I hope I've got some in my drawer here. I have, like so. We will position it in that spot that we had spare. Try and keep them straight, Ben. There we go. There we go. There he is. So all I'm going to do now is wait for that to dry off. Then I'm going to just brush an ivory over the top of the beard. And then I'm going to dot a couple of black dots in for the eyes. And then we're going to see him hanging as if he was going to be on a Christmas tree. So let's give him time to dry and I'll be back. See you in a bit. So here he is, finished and on the stand. Got a bit of ivory on his beard. We've pointed his eyes in a direction. And he's glistening a little bit because we've got a little bit of wax on him at the moment. And we sort of dry brushed his hat a little bit. So he looks very much like his colleague to the left here. He's done exactly the same as that tutorial was. So there he is, that's the one we did. And then there's one in the background there where we did a blue hat on him and did simpler eyes. It's just little V cuts in the eye sockets there. So do a few of these to hang in the tree. Ready for Christmas. Hope you enjoyed that one. Real nice and quick. And also I hollowed out the back of him a little bit just to take a bit of weight off of him for when he's on the Christmas tree. Nice quick project. Hope you enjoyed it. Catch you on the next one.